Hey everyone, welcome back to the Be Yourself Unapologetically podcast. Today's episode is going to be a deep dive of how we can recover after being with a narcissist. I want you to listen, take it on board, and again, just be kind to yourself. Make sure you've got a cup of tea and you're sat down and you're ready to listen. So, healing after a narcissist, reclaiming yourself bit by bit. Right, so you know that moment when you finally stop pretending you're fine, when the dust has settled, the noise has faded, and suddenly you're left alone with yourself, and it's just quiet. That's where the real healing begins. This episode is one that's close to the bone for so many of us. Healing after a narcissist, and if you're listening, maybe you've been there, maybe you're still in it, maybe you're trying to make sense of what happened to you. And I want you to know something right from the start. You're not broken, you're not weak for what happened, and you're definitely not crazy for how you feel right now. This isn't going to be an episode about revenge or anger or diagnosing anyone. This is purely about you, your healing, your mind, your heart, and how you start to rebuild after someone has completely rewritten your story. So hopefully you've got a cup of tea. I want you to take a deep breath and let's talk about it. The narcissist's grip. When you're with a narcissist, it's like living in a movie, but you're not the main character. You're the audience and the scapegoat, both at once. It often starts beautifully. They see you, or at least they make you think they do. They mirror you, your kindness, your empathy, your light. It's intoxicating. They say things like, "You're not like anyone I've ever met." And you believe it because they seem so sincere. But over time, something shifts. The warmth turns cold. The compliments become criticisms. You start walking on eggshells, analysing every word you say. And the worst part, you don't even notice the shift at first because they've trained you to doubt yourself. Narcissistic abuse isn't always about shouting or visible cruelty. Sometimes it's the quiet erosion of your confidence, the subtle comments, the rewriting of events. "I never said that. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. We've all heard them." We know it's gaslighting. It makes you question your memory, your perception, even your sanity. And little by little, your world starts to shrink until the only version of truth that feels safe is theirs. But the truth is, what you experienced wasn't love. It was control, wrapped up in charm. So the aftermath. After leaving, or even just realising what's happened, comes the crash. You might expect relief, but often what comes first is confusion, grief, and sometimes shame. Because when you spend months or years trying to fix, prove, or explain yourself, the silence after they're gone can feel unbearable. You might miss them, and that doesn't mean you're weak. That's trauma bonding. When your nervous system gets used to chaos, peace can actually feel threatening. Your body starts craving the emotional highs and lows it was conditioned to expect. So if you find yourself missing someone who hurt you, please know it's normal. You're not mad. You're detoxing from manipulation. Healing from a narcissist means learning how to sit in calm again, to reteach your body that peace is safe. This stage can feel raw. You might replay conversations in your head. You might think, maybe I was too much, or maybe they weren't that bad. But every time you start to minimize your pain, I want you to pause and say to yourself, no one who truly loved me would have made me feel small. Understanding what happened. To heal, you have to understand the machinery behind what happened, not to excuse them, but to reclaim your clarity. A narcissist needs control to feel secure. They build a world where they are always right, always admired, always the victim when things go wrong. They can't tolerate accountability because accountability threatens the illusion. You, on the other hand, were likely chosen because you have empathy. Narcissists are drawn to people who feel deeply because empathy is their fuel. You gave them understanding, softness and patience, all the things they lack within themselves, and over time, they drained you of it. Understanding this isn't about blame, it's about perspective. It helps you separate their disorder from your worth. Because here's the truth, you can't heal what you think you caused. You can only heal what you recognise wasn't yours to carry. The turning point. There's usually a moment, a quiet, powerful shift, when you realise you don't want to fight anymore. You don't want to convince them to see your side or understand how they hurt you. You just want peace. That's the turning point, the moment you stop chasing closure from someone who benefits from your confusion. It's not about winning, it's about choosing yourself, even when no one claps for it. And healing doesn't look glamorous. It's crying in the car park because a song reminded you of the person you used to be. It's learning to cook for one again without feeling lonely. It's the slow, quiet reclaiming of your energy. You're not becoming someone new. You're coming home to who you were before they convinced you that you were too much. Healing. Healing after narcissistic abuse isn't a straight line. It is a spiral. Some days you feel powerful, other days you feel like you're back at square one. But you're not. Each loop teaches you something new. Start with safety, physical and emotional. Limit contact if you can. Block them if it's possible. And surround yourself with people who don't make you question your reality. Therapy helps, especially trauma-informed therapy. Someone who understands narcissistic abuse. You're not dwelling on the past. You're reprogramming a nervous system that was trained to survive chaos. Journal what you feel, not what you think you should feel. What's really there. Write letters you'll never send. Cry, rest, take long showers. Reclaim your routines. And little by little, you'll start to notice small signs of healing. You stop defending yourself in your head. You don't check your phone for their messages. You laugh genuinely for the first time in a while. That's progress, not dramatic, not cinematic, but deeply real. Rebuilding your identity. When you've been with a narcissist, your sense of self gets rewritten. You forget what you like, what you need, even how you speak sometimes. So part of healing is remembering who you are and experimenting with who you might be now. Start small. What did you used to love doing before them? What kind of music did you like? What food did you order when you didn't have to compromise? This is where self-trust begins again, by making small, safe choices that remind your brain, I can listen to myself. You'll probably feel wobbly at first. You might question everything, your instincts, your memories, even your capacity to love again. But rebuilding your identity isn't about becoming bulletproof. It's about becoming authentic. Your softness is not the problem. Your empathy isn't a weakness. You just gave it to someone who didn't know how to hold it. Reclaiming joy and power. This is the part of healing that's easy to miss, the rediscovery of joy. For so long, survival has been your focus. Now, it's time to reconnect with lightness, the silly things, the laughter that doesn't come with a catch. You start to notice how good it feels to walk without checking who's watching. How freeing is it to make decisions without fear? And eventually, not overnight, but naturally, your boundaries become second nature. You stop explaining them. You stop over-apologizing. You stop trying to rescue people from the consequences of their actions. That's what healing looks like. Not perfection, just peace. If you're listening to this and thinking, I don't even know who I am anymore, that's okay. You're exactly where you need to be. Healing after a narcissist isn't about getting your old self back. It's about meeting the version of you that survived, the one who saw the truth and chose to walk away. So take a deep breath. You're safe now. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to rebuild slowly. And the best part, the longer you stay in peace, the more alien chaos begins to feel. One day you'll look back and realize you didn't just heal, you grew. And that's the quiet power they never saw coming. So here's to you, reclaiming yourself bit by bit.